Now, 8Sports Blitz. With Nolan Knight and Madeline Frentress.
It's a top 6 showdown in this week's 8 Sports Blitz Game of the Week as an undefeated Manchester team hits the road to take on a red-hot Huguenot Falcons squad.
While in our rivalry game of the week, it's a Midlothian mayhem as the Trojans make an easy trip to Monacan for this week's rivalry game of the week.
Well, hello and welcome into 8 Sports Blitz, everyone. Thank you so much for making the Blitz your home for high school football. It's been an incredible season, and tonight playoff spots were on the line.
Yeah, that's right. And tonight across the region, teams were playing for both seeding and berths to the postseason, which brought us some awesome matchups. Yeah,
absolutely. And that was the case like at LC Bird. This is the final week of the regular season. The Skyhawks have clinched their playoff berth, but could James River sneak into the Class 5 playoffs? They had to beat Bird tonight, and LC Bird got the rock moving early. Tyrell Allen takes the handoff, and look out,
whoa,
the big back takes it down the sideline
moving
and in to extend the Skyhawks lead to 14. But James River would answer with the score of their own as they barrel into the end zone here, and then some heads-up coaching. They go for 2 down 14, that to cut the lead to 6. But the comeback attempt falls short. The Skyhawks in the Rapid season with a 21-15 win, and now they're headed to the playoffs.
Hey, speaking of the playoffs, there were spots on the line at Glen Allen. It was a win-and-get-in situation between the Jags and Douglas Freeman. The Jags looking to get something going on their first possession, and it's a Luke Perini-designed run. Perini breaking through and taking it to the outside for a big first down and more. The Jags in the red zone thanks to that Perini run. They fake the handoff, and it's Perini who gets it in for the score, and it's 7-0 Jags. Freeman can't answer, and the Jags are driving in the second quarter. Perini dropping back, heaving one out down to Jakeem Dandridge, and it's caught for the touchdown, putting Glen Allen up 13-0 at halftime. But it's Freeman with a huge second-half effort that comes back to win this one 21-18 in overtime. And with it, the Mavericks clinch their spot in the Class 5 playoffs.
Yeah, big win. As for our 8 Sports Blitz Game of the Week, both the Falcons and the Lancers have already clinched their spots in the postseason.
But seeding and bragging rights were absolutely on the line at Huguenot, and 8 Sports reporter Jamal Williams was on the sidelines for this week's biggest game and has the record.
Tonight's final game of the week featured a battle of the Dominion District as the #2 Manchester Lancers came in and took on the Huguenot Falcons. But who would come out on top? Let's find out.
It's the highly anticipated matchup, the Manchester Lancers facing off against the Huguenot Falcons. To the second quarter we go as Huguenot will score on 3 drives. The first from a handoff to Randall Robinson for the touchdown. The second from Cartier Canati on a 43-yard run to the house, and a 20-yard pass from quarterback Charles Scott to Montre Thompson for the third. Falcons up big 21-0 at the half. Second half, Huguenot picks up right where they left off. Late in the third, it's Scott to Lewis for a 20-yard touchdown pass. Falcons all over the Lancers 27-0. Late in the fourth, Manchester finally gets points on the board with a 21-yard touchdown pass to wide receiver Antonio Turner, but it wouldn't be enough as the Falcons go on to win this one 27-7 in dominating fashion. Here's head coach Charles Scott on the statement his squad made tonight.
I feel like we got the best defense in the state. I feel like they took another step tonight in proving that. And my guys took a lot of stuff personal this week. Everybody was saying we was the same, and we are not the same. And that's what we wanted to prove tonight, that we are not the same.
Well, that does it here, folks, as the Falcons dominated the Lancers from start to finish, finishing this off with a final score of 27-7 with huge momentum going into the playoffs next week. As always, I'm Jamal Williams signing off for you for 8 Sports Blitz. See you guys next time.
Wow, absolutely huge win for the Lancers. But how about we turn our attention now to the Colonial District?
Yeah, playoff seeding on the line in this matchup as well. Thomas Jefferson needed to probably pull off an upset if they wanted to secure home field advantage, and so did the Panthers. This one turned out to be kind of a bit of a slobber knocker. Early, it's Kwame Waters that takes the handoff, runs through tackles all the way to stretching out for the end zone for the score. And then the next time the Vikings got the ball, they're back in the red zone, but that's when Marcus Lee says, "Give me that." He's headed the other way. The two teams would trade blows throughout the rest of the night, but in the end, it's a 9-7 win for the Panthers as they now sit at 5th in the Region 5C standings with the win.
Not every game in our region had playoff implications, though. Both Godwin and Deep Run out of the picture, but both playing for bragging rights tonight. The students hype out there as well. It was 10-0 Godwin at halftime, and the Eagles are driving in the third quarter when quarterback Luke Roberts throws this absolute dot to Caney Southworth, who is wide open for an easy score at 17-0 Godwin. The Wildcats still can't get anything going, and the Eagles offense is back out. Roberts not seeing an open man, so he decides to himself, and it's a first down and more for Godwin in Wildcats territory. Fourth quarter now, and the Eagles are in the red zone. Roberts letting one fly here. There he goes, looking for the score, but it's intercepted by Joseph Mitchell to keep Godwin out of the end zone, but the Eagles do go on to win this one 24-0.
Hey, let's look at some more scores. Cosby needed a win on the road to get in the Class 6 postseason. They did it, taking down Powerdown 50-33, but they missed out on the playoffs after a Lansdowne win tonight. Well, at Prince George Petersburg, they clinch home field advantage with a 28-21 win over the Royals.
And speaking of the Central District at Thomasdale tonight, the Knights were hoping to cap off a 9-1 season.
Yeah, Kevin Tucker has had those guys playing well all season. Tonight, Hopewell came to town. Both these teams have clinched playoff spots already, and they are ready for the postseason. The Knights received the opening kickoff in this one, and I'm pretty sure that they're happy that they did because Daniel Lewis was on X Games mode, slicing, dicing through the defense down the far sideline. He's going to take this one all the way to the end zone, and things would only get better for the Knights. This time, Dexter Richardson coming up with the INT. I think it's a great return on it as well, weaving through the defense. The Knights would punt, and it would result in another interception for the Knights coming up here in just a bit. This time, it's Chris Ward that's headed the other way with the pick. He's got a convoy. He's got a pick six, takes it to the crib. The Knights finish off their season 9-1 with a 36-22 win over the Blue Devils and will now get a first-round bye in the Class 6 playoffs.
Hey, speaking of teams that have clinched postseason play, third-ranked Verina finishes off their season with a win 77-0 over Patrick Henry, while King William hands Colonial Heights a loss on the road 48-21.
All right, guys, well, it's already time for us to call our first timeout of the show.
But don't go anywhere because coming up next, we head to this week's rivalry game of the week between the Trojans and the Chiefs.
Stay tuned for more 8Sports Blitz. Go!
All right, welcome back into the Blitz, everyone.
Yeah, the final week of the regular season is in the books and the playoff field is set.
Yeah, and for a lot of our area teams, they already knew that they were in the postseason, but they were playing for seeding, and that was the case at Monacan tonight. The Chiefs looking to play spoilers against their rivals in Midlothian. That Midlo defense came to play tonight, man. How about Xavier Anderson in the backfield? It's going to come up with the big sack. And then the Trojans' offense would get moving. Handoff to what I call the Sour Patch Kid. It's John Sowers. First he's sour, then he's sweet with the big run down inside the 10. And then they hand it off to the big fella, Max Tanner, the fullback, in for the score. And then the next time they got the ball, they find the end zone again. This time, Gibson Gross rolling to his left, going to find a wide open Malachi Hill. No one's near him.
Nice.
Easily takes it in for the second score of the night. The Trojans finish their regular season with a win, 48-7.
Hey, speaking of bragging rights, this game, the most fun matchup of the week, 0-9 Richmond School for the Arts versus 0-9 Clover Hill. Somebody was going to get their first win of the year tonight. The Cavaliers trailing 8-0 and couldn't convert on a first and goal situation. Then Richmond gets the ball moving. Jamarcus Holland scrambling and taking it to the outside for the first down. And then it's going to be Terrell Lewis. He's going to get going on the screen. He picks up a big first down for Clover Hill, but once more the Bulldogs defense would hold strong as they'd go into halftime, trailing 8-0, and in the end it's the Bulldogs that snap an 18-game losing streak, taking down the Cavaliers 14-12. Looking at some more scores here, how about we tip our hats to our undefeated teams? Louisa County finishes their year a perfect 10-0 season with a 59-10 win over Monticello.
Yeah, while in Class 2, Lunenburg Central caps off a perfect season with a win 42-15 over Amelia County. Big shout out to the Chargers for a great year. Hey, speaking of great years, both Hanover and Highland Springs have been awesome this season.
Yeah, both teams have locked up playoff spots and faced off tonight.
Yeah, seeding on the line tonight for both of these teams as they were both looking for home field advantage next week, and this game turned into the game of the night. First, it's Eric Bird. He's going to hit the hole with force, finds open field and the end zone. That to give the Springers an early 10-0 lead. Then it's still in the second quarter, and after a Hanover fake punt from their own 11, the Hawks with more razzle-dazzle. Lane Zalaki to Joel Nicholson, airs it out to Jonathan Gilmartin. That to make things 10-6. Then more action in that second quarter. Nicholson, this time to Zaloki, hauls it in to give the Hawks the lead, but you can never count out the Springers. Antoine Richardson to the house from 4 yards out to take a lead. Then the Springers extend a lead thanks to this run from Bird. The Hawks actually came from behind to reclaim a lead in this game, but the Springers responded with the game-winning 99-yard kickoff return to the house to secure the 2 seed in the Class 5C playoffs.
At Henrico tonight, the Warriors were looking for their first win of the year as Atlee came to town for a district rivalry, and they were trailing the Raiders in the first when more trouble strikes as Dalton Moss comes up with this incredible pick, nasty, to give the Raiders the ball back, and they take advantage of it. First, it's Caden Wright right up the gut to set up first and goal, and it worked once. Why not go to it again? It's the right call as he powers into the end zone for another Atlee score as the Raiders miss out on the playoffs but finish their season with a win 52-0.
Yeah, staying in the Capital District. Last night, Armstrong, they were on the road taking on Mechanicsville.
The Wildcats hoping to secure their first 10-0 season in school history.
Yeah, never have the Wildcats finish that perfect 10-0, but last night they had a chance to do that as Jeremy Pruitt and Armstrong were taking on the Mustangs in Mechanicsville. We're celebrating the seniors, and one of their seniors, Landon Brewster, had a great game in the backfield here for the TFL to force the early 3-and-out, but the Armstrong offense would find some life. Anthony Handsome keeps the play alive. He's going to find Jockey Cotman down the field for the big first down. That would lead to an early field goal, 3-0. Then the next time they got the ball, they pushed it way down the field. Play action fakes me way out, but it does result in a Brendan Oliver catch down to the 1-yard line, and then Hanson finishes off the drive with the sneak as the Wildcats complete the perfect season. They take down the Mustangs 37-0.
At John Marshall, the Justices, after having to forfeit their past couple of games, were able to have senior night tonight, and they fell to the Arcadia Firebirds 22-12, while Sussex shuts out Surrey to clinch a 9-1 season and claims the James River District title.
All right, guys, well, that's going to wrap up week 11 of the high school football season.
Thanks so much for tuning in this week and making the Blitz your home for high school football.
Yeah, we'll see you here next week for the playoff edition of the Blitz. Good night, everybody. We'll see you here next week.